Hello everyone, welcome back to the lecture of computer organization. So in today's lecture, I will continue with the previous concept, that is our how to handle multiple interrupts, okay, or what are the techniques that are used by the processor when multiple device request for the interrupts, okay. So I have discussed about three techniques, okay. So in today's lecture, I will discuss another one technique, that is our daisy chain, okay. So the three technique which I have discussed, that one is our pooling scheme, then next one is our vector interrupt, and the third one is our interrupt nesting, okay. So in the pooling scheme, what we have discussed, that every device is attached with a bit, and by setting that bit, the device can request for an interrupt, and the processor has to search every bit, or you can say the bits which are assigned to the device one after another, and which device which sets that bit first, then that device will be solved first, okay. And in the vector interrupt, there the processor uses one vector, and that vector is basically a pointer which points to the interrupt service routine, okay, and that holds the address of the interrupt service routine also, okay, and every device is attached with a special type of code, okay, and on the basis of that code, the processor serves the interrupt to that device. And in the interrupt nesting concept, there are multiple interrupts may becomes in between another interrupt. That means when a processor executes one interrupt, in between the execution of that interrupt, another interrupt may comes. So in that scenario, the processor has to set a priority, and that priority is given by the processor, and the processor has to give service to the highest priority interrupt, and it solves the interrupt later which is having lowest priority, okay. So in the next concept, we will discuss about daisy chaining, okay. So let's go to the slides. So in the daisy chaining method of handling multiple device, that is our the interrupt request line, that is our INTR, is common to all the device, but in the interrupt nesting, we have discussed that every device is attached with their own interrupt request line and also their own interrupt acknowledgement line. But here in this daisy chaining method, the devices are attached with the processor in a sequential manner, like this. Here you can see, and there are only one interrupt request line which is common to all the devices, or you can say by using a single interrupt request line, every device can send their request to the processor. The next point is the interrupt acknowledgement line, that is our INTA, is connected to the devices in a daisy chain way, okay. So daisy chain means the devices are connected in a chained manner, that means one after another, and how the devices are connected, that means the device which is closer to the processor is having highest priority, and the device which is far away than the processor, that device has lowest priority, okay. So in the basis of priority, the devices are connected. So here you can see in this picture, the device 1 has highest priority among this n number of devices, and this device n having lowest priority among these all devices, okay. And the next one is our INTA propagates serially through the devices. That means the interrupt acknowledgement request, or you can say the interrupt acknowledgement signal which is delivered by the processor, they are propagates or they are sent to one device to another in a sequential format, okay. Then next one is our device that is electrically closest to the processor gets highest priority. As I have told you before, that in this scenario, the device 1 is closest to the processor, That's why this device 1 will get highest priority among all the devices which are connected to the processor. Then next one is our the lowest priority device may have a danger of starvation. Okay, so there are two concepts. One is our daisy chain, another one is our starvation. So daisy chain means, as I have discussed, that the devices are connected in a priority manner, or you can say the highest priority devices, or in other word you can say also the device which is closest to the processor is having highest priority, or the processor gets that device as highest priority device. And when the processor releases the interrupt acknowledgement signal, that means here in this picture, as you can see, interrupt request line, here you can see there is a symbol, there is a bar symbol, that means it is the opposite, or you can say if the signal is transferred by the device, whatever the value, that will be transferred into its logical OR format, and then that value will be transferred to this processor. So that's why this notation. Okay, and this, after getting the request, the processor generates the interrupt acknowledgement signal, and when the process generates that, at first the device 1 will receive that acknowledgement signal. If the device 1 is having an interrupt of its own, then it will first its interrupt to the processor, and then processor solves its interrupt first. And if this device 1 doesn't have any interrupt to give to the processor or to process, then the device 1 forwards this interrupt acknowledgement signal to this device 2, and if device 2 have some interrupt to being serviced to the processor, then it will accept this acknowledgement signal, and it then it tells the processor that it has to process the interrupt of this device 2, and after execution of the interrupt of device 2, then it will forward this interrupt acknowledgement signal to the next device. So in this way, this interrupt acknowledgement signal will be forwarded from one device to another. Okay, but if the highest priority device have some interrupts to be processed or to be executed, then that interrupt has to be served first by the processor. Okay, and if the device does not have any interrupt to be executed, then it will forward, or it will give that acknowledgement to the next device or to the next priority device. Okay. So in that way, the acknowledgement signals are given from one device to another in a serial format. Okay, so this, and that is called as the daisy chain way. And what do you mean by starvation? Starvation means waiting for a longest period of time to get the service. So this lowest priority device, that is our let device N, it may wait for a longest period of time for getting this interrupt acknowledgement signal. Okay, that means if the device 1 have some interrupt to be executed, and then device 2 also have some interrupt to be executed, then after executing the interrupts of the in between devices, then the device N will get this acknowledgement signal. Okay, and after getting that acknowledgement signal, then the interrupt which is requested by this device can be serviced by the processor. So in this way, to get this interrupt acknowledgement signal to the last device, or you can say the lowest priority device which are connected to the processor, that device has to wait for a longest period of time. Okay. So that is called as the starvation. Okay. So that is the problem of daisy chaining. So to overcome this, we have implement another concept in the daisy chaining, that means by implementing the priority based in the daisy chaining method, so you can overcome somehow to the problem of starvation. So let's see how. So this is the concept, that daisy chaining with priority group. Okay. So The first, combining daisy chaining and interrupt nesting to form priority group. So interrupt nesting means when one interrupt comes or one interrupt is executed by the processor, and in between that the device or some other device may request for another interrupt. So that is called as interrupt nesting, and in that case the processor has to give service to the highest priority interrupt. Okay, so that is called as interrupt nesting. That means one interrupt within another interrupt. That means when one interrupt gets service or one interrupt gets executed, then at that point of time another interrupt may comes and that has to be executed. So how the processor will execute? If the interrupt which is executed and the interrupt which is requested, if the requested interrupt is of highest priority, then that interrupt has to be serviced by the processor, and the interrupt which is under execution, that execution has to be paused. Okay. So here we combine the concept of daisy chaining and also the interrupt nesting to form priority group. So each group has different priority labels, and within each group devices are connected in daisy chain way. So in this diagram you can see that here the devices are divided into two groups, okay, and each group is having different priority labels. So here one priority label, here another priority label, and in each group the devices are connected in a daisy chain way. Daisy chain way means the device which is closest to the processor gets highest priority, and the device which are far away from the processor gets lowest priority. Okay, so that is the concept of daisy chaining. But when we group the devices into a single group, at that point of time the grouping is performed by using the priority concept. In this way the daisy chaining with priority group is serviced. So next concept is our direct memory access. So for input output transfer, the processor determines the status of input output devices by pulling scheme or by waiting for interrupt signals. Okay. So considerable overhead is incurred in above IO transfer processing. So in this way, to transfer large blocks of data at high speed between external devices and main memory, direct memory access approach is used. Okay. And next is there is a concept of DMA controller, which is a hardware part which allows data transfer directly between input output device and in between the memory with the minimum intervention of the processor. Okay. So when the data transfer takes place between input output device and in between the processor, then to transfer highest amount of data, or we can say when we transfer large blocks of data at a high speed, that means when we transfer it from the input device to the system, then at that point of time when transferring takes place, so in that time period the CPU stays idle. Okay. So in that period of time also another job or some other task can be given to the CPU. So by using this concept, the performance of the computer system can be enhanced. So in the direct memory access, that means there is a hardware which is called as direct memory access controller or DMA controller, which helps to transfer the data between the IO device and the memory directly without involving the CPU. Okay, so that if we involve the CPU in this data transfer and the data transfer is in the large blocks of data, so the CPU is busy for most of the time, or you can say the CPU waits for more number of time. So by using this technique DMA, without involving CPU, the data transfer can be takes place directly between the input output device and the memory. Okay, so by using this, easily we can enhance the performance of the computer system, or you can say we can keep busy the CPU for more amount of time. Okay. So let's see. The next is our concept that direct memory access controller or DMA controller, it acts as a processor, because here I have told you that without involving CPU we have to do the data transfer between the input output device and the memory. So here the direct memory access controller acts as a processor. And then next, to initiate transfer of a block of words, the processor sends the following data to the controller. As we know that DMA controls that data transfer, or it manages the data transfer as a processor, or it acts as a processor in between this, or to perform that data transfer. Then to initiate the transfer of a block of words in between the input output device and the memory, the processor sends the following data to the DMA controller. Okay, so that the DMA controller have some knowledge about the data which will be transferred in between the input output device and the memory. Then what are the data which the processor sends? One is the starting address of the memory block where the data has to be placed in the memory. Then the word count, that means when the data transferred from input device to the main memory, then the word numbers or the number of words which are transferred to the memory or which will be stored in that memory, that number of words has to be counted. Okay, so that data also has to be sent by the processor to the DMA controller, so that the DMA controller has some knowledge about how much data is transferred between these two devices. Okay, so next one is our control to specify the mode of transfer, such as read or write. So there are some techniques which is used to select the mode of transfer. Okay, whether it is a single cycle mode, whether it is a multi-cycle mode. Okay, so and also there are some transfers like read or write, whether the data transfer takes place to perform the operation of read or write operations. Okay, the next one is our a control to start the DMA transfer. So the processor has to give access to the DMA controller by sending a control signal to start the direct memory access data transfer between input output device and the memory. Then DMA controller performs the requested input output operation and sends a interrupt to the processor upon completion. So DMA controller performs the input output operation by acting as a processor, and after completion of that it sends an interrupt to the processor, because the processor may be busy to performing some other works when the DMA controller controls the data transfer between the input output device and in between the memory. To give knowledge about the data transfer, the DMA controller sends an interrupt to the processor, so that the processor will get to know that the data transfer is completed, so that it can again get the access from the DMA controller. Okay, and it can execute that later. Okay, so next concept is our, here you can see there are the status and control, and here are the bits which will be set to do the data transfer, and then starting address, word count. Okay, and next concept is our, in a DMA interface or direct memory access interface, the first register stores the starting address, and then second register stores the word count, and then third register contains status and control flags. So the DMA interface, or you can say the platform which performs the direct memory access technique, or you can say, as I have discussed, that direct memory access controller is a concept of circuitry. So in that circuit we use 3 registers. So first register stores the starting address, and the second register stores the word count, and the third register contains the status and the control flags, because these are the data which is given by the processor to the DMA controller, and that are the bits and the flags as you can see here. So read or write, okay, if the read operation performs, then that will be set to 1, and for write that will be set to 0. And there is another bit for done, that means the data transfer is done or data transfer finishes. If data transfer finished, then that bit will be set to 1. And then interrupt request, so when the data transfer finishes, then the direct memory access controller has to give or has to provide the knowledge about this data transfer to the processor by requesting an interrupt. So for doing that, it has to set the bit of IRQ to 1, and then another one is your interrupt enable. So raise an interrupt after data transfer. Okay. So these are the bits which is set to 1, okay, when the DMA transfers the data or DMA controls the data in between the input output device and the memory. Okay. So this is all about the today class. In the next class we will discuss about some other concept of computer organization. If you have any doubt, then you can provide it in the comment section. Thank you. Keep watching.